Welcome, Nehal, to 1-800 Gold Digger, a podcast for ambitious women to explore the unspoken realities behind success and growth. We wanted to give the listeners a sense of who you are before everything has changed for you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Nehal. I am in my mid 40s, and in this point in my life, I'm at the point of what do I want to do when I grow up? So we can call it the midlife crisis, but really understanding what midlife crisis means in this point in my aspect. I'm a mom of two amazing teens. I just love life and I'm just learning how to really enjoy and be present in this moment.
Tell us a little bit about your journey. I know that professionally you were with a really well respected Canadian bank for a really long time, and there seems to be some pivot in your professional journey and personal journey as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So professionally, I worked for one of the top five banks and I was there for about 23 years. I started as a teller and then worked my way up into the corporate world. My background became in compliance and audit and operations. Going through that journey of what do you want to do when you become comfortable in a role, you just elevate naturally into different titles. For me, and I think for a lot of us, Asian culture, it's more like if you work in the bank, you work in the government, you work in any of these top secured institutions, you should never leave because then you're done, right? You work until you retire and you'll be great. So for me, that was the natural progression that, I started as a teller, then I went up to a manager role and so on and so forth. It just became such a natural progression that I never looked outside. I never looked at what else could there be because that was my secure blanket. In between that time, of course, got married, had kids, and it has been a great rewarding career. I can't say it was never rewarding. And on the personal side, it allowed me to have a really good work-life balance. For the majority of my time with my kids when they were young, I was able to schedule my work schedule with picking them up or being able to attend their in-school activities or extracurricular activities. I was able to balance that and it really, really worked out. I can never take that away because it was my dream job at that moment. And then I think in the last 5 years, something started to itch inside because now I had, when you do your own development goals, you're like, what is your next role? Where do you want to be? I had achieved all those next roles. And then I didn't have what do I want to be next? Where did I want to go? What did I see myself being? So there was that inside voice that was like, you're meant for more, but what does that more look like? And it's scary, right? To even think about like, if I quit today, what will I do next? Who's going to hire me? What credentials do I bring besides saying, yes, I have a bachelor's degree in behaviors or I have all these certifications, but who's going to hire me? So those were the silent voices coming through. October 2023, the bank went through a major shift and one of my departments was affected and I got that call, and I never even thought of it because I was always a high performer. It wasn't like in the last 2 years you were diminishing or anything like
Yeah.
that. When you become such a high performer, you never see that, oh, this could
You didn't see
happen
it
to me.
coming.
I remember a call was scheduled early in the morning, and I just thought, oh, the director wants to talk to me early in the morning. No issues, no big deal. And then you could see like the tone was different, the vibe was different. You could see like, and being a manager myself, you have a script, right? So you have to read that script. You cannot sway from the script. He had said, our department's restructuring, and you have 2 weeks to either find something else or you'll be let go. I think the call lasted maybe 5 minutes and then it was take the rest of the day off and that's it. And I even remember like on our team's call, we used to like look and see like who's away. So you knew that day if people were set away for a long period of time that there could be a chance that they also got the call. And I went downstairs and at that time I was married and I went to my husband and I just like started crying and I'm like, I just got laid off and took a moment. We went for a drive. And although I felt like it was the end of the world for me at that moment, because then you start questioning why. What did I do that was so different? Or what did I make a mistake on? And you start questioning your own productivity. You start questioning your own worth, especially after you've been with the bank for so long and you've created such a network of people. I know for a fact that it was in the last year where I was just not happy. I was not happy with what I was doing. I was not happy with the role that I was in, and it was eating at me. I think in that moment also, I had to realize that what I was doing was not fulfilling my own personal self or who I was authentically. Even working for the bank, every role I had, I was producing something. I was engaging with another person. I was able to give that vulnerability to that person whenever they needed it. And in that last year before I got laid off, I think it was more of, this is not who I am. This is not what I do. I wake up every morning and I want to make a difference. That impact wasn't there anymore.
It sounded like you had a strong identity that tied to your professional career for a really long time, and that allowed you to also have that work life balance and be a mom and pick up your kids. And then suddenly you got this call, which lasted 5 minutes but changed everything. But it's interesting how that same year, before you got the call, before you knew this is happening, you already knew that you don't enjoy this already. Like it's inside you somehow, subconsciously.
Yes.
Did you know that at the time, or it was a reflection that after the fact, now you go back and reflect on it, and then you feel like, yeah, these were the signs?
No, I think I knew. I think I definitely knew the signs were there. One of the things that I've always said, you as a people manager can either create a high performing team or you can completely decimate the person from what they want to enjoy or what they do. And I think I was in that pivotal point where I knew there was something more, and I knew that it wasn't where I was in that junction and that point, right? Even when I was applying to other places within the bank, I would always get, you were the second runner, but why? Why am I always the second? Like, what was happening, right? And then you start to, again, question yourself and you wonder, like, what am I doing differently? Now that I reflect back, do I ever regret it? No, I don't.
And there were signs already for you that you knew that this wasn't for you anyways, and you wanted to do more than the career path that you had before. It was just my family, my friends probably think it was a good thing, and I didn't know any better, and I thought it was a good thing too. So I just kept going at it, and you were
Yeah.
there for a long
Because
time, and it was
because
yeah.
culturally what it is, right? It's a secure job. Why ruffle the feathers? You get a paycheck every 2 weeks. There's nothing more to worry about. Why? But it wasn't fulfilling because what I thrived and thrive in, which we can talk about later, is where I am now,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
so let's get into that now. But I also know that there's something else that happened shortly after the career transition.
So yeah, sometimes when people say midlife crisis, I think it's like, it's not how I envisioned a midlife crisis to be. Like, I didn't go buy a sports car or anything like that. My midlife crisis was everything. Left my career, or what I thought was my identity in that time frame of a career. And then slowly something else started voicing, where it was the unhappiness of my marriage. I wasn't focused on just my career, where it was kind of like that background noise started going away, right? So now I don't have a career to focus on. Now let me see where else I can focus. And of course, the kids, their duties every day and activities were the same. But then that silent moment of where you're not working anymore, you start assessing everything else. And while you're assessing not just your career path, you start assessing your day to day life. And it became very evident that I was actually not happy in my marriage. We looked and felt like a couple to the outside world, like we were the couple that people wanted to be. But on the background and then behind the scenes, we were definitely not the couple that everybody thought we would be or that we were. Slowly, I just started pulling back more and more and more from our marriage. And again, culturally, we think that it's just a phase, things go away, it'll get better. Watching my own mom be a martyr in her own marriage, we just think that that's your duty. You just serve and you cook, clean, feed, do your wifely duties, and that's it.
There's a very heavy expectation on what women should do and
Yeah.
should not do and shouldn't complain. And nothing wrong with your husband. He's great and that kind of stuff, right?
Or like man is a man.
Man is a
Like,
man. Yeah.
or that's how men are. Like I even remember my mom saying that very line to me. She's like, that's how men are. And I'm like, what does that mean? That's how men are. Is that acceptable? And yes, we have accepted it for so long. And I call it the epidemic of women now is that we have decided to create those boundaries. We have decided to say, no, that's not acceptable. It's not men are men or, oh, that's how they are. Or, boys will be boys. Like that's not the world we're creating, or that's not the world that we also envision ourselves to be in. So then why are we accepting to live with it? And so I think that was my biggest shift. So while I was going through that work journey of, is this really what I want to do, what I want to be? I was also silently, subconsciously observing my own marriage and reviewing my marriage. One of the memories that I have is we have an extensive friends and family network, and we were very social. And in that social gathering, sometimes I became very quiet and I would just stand back and think, like, if we weren't together, what would this look or feel like? So I just kind of started like, again, having a risk analysis background, right? So trying to analyze all the risks, like how will this affect my kids? How will this affect my relationship with all of our friends that are in that network of marriage, married friends through marriage type of network, family gatherings? How would this shift? For the longest time, I just accepted it and just let it be for a very long time. I think maybe I would say even longer than my career path. I would say probably for the past 7 years, I just accepted it and I just kind of waited for like, it'll change, things will change.
How long were you married?
So before separating, we would have been married for 16 years. Yeah. Which is a long time. It's a commitment. If you include dating, it's almost like 2 decades, right?
It must be a very hard thing to do to decide that this is something I don't want anymore, to leave somebody you've known for almost 20 years.
Yeah. It's also very heartbreaking because you've dedicated yourself to this person and to the idea of a marriage that you would have thought you had, the idea of the family that you wanted to create in general. I had this idea that I was with my family, the way I wanted to raise my kids. Not that I had planned it from before, but ending that relationship is definitely different because in the past we had our fights, went to therapy, did all those things. I remember when my therapist said, you guys are like a roller coaster, so you have your ups and then you have your downs and then you go back up and then you kind of steady. I never understood that theory until now when I do the work on myself. It took a lot of courage to have that final, like, no, this is it, right? Because in between that time frame of, oh, this is it, okay, maybe we can work it out.
Mhm.
But I had to have that like hard no. And I think the type of person I am is because I was observing it for so long and because I was trying to make it work silently for so long that when I actually made that step, I had already made the decision from before.
What was the straw that broke the camel's back? What was the thing that happened and you said, okay, this is it. I've
And
got to do this.
it was, truthfully, it was many things that brought it, but one of the reasons was my daughter. She was having, I don't want to say boy trouble. She was having issues with this one person that she was really interested in. When you're young, everything's amazing, right? But I saw that this person wasn't right for her. And my daughter is very intelligent. So when I said to her, this isn't something that you should be pursuing because these are the reasons why you should not be pursuing. And her comment back to me was, I don't think you are in the position to give me relationship advice. And two parts came out of me that day. One was like, I'm your mom, you should respect me. And whatever your dad and I are going through, this is adult relationship versus a teenage relationship. We ended up fighting about it a little bit and I walked away, but I also then took that comment and it put a pin in that button, just like that little stop red light button. And it was just like, what am I actually teaching my daughter? Kids are very smart. My kids are now older, but even at that time, they see and they do things because that's what they see and hear in your household.
If you don't mind me asking, how old was she when she said that?
So she would have been 14, grade nine.
Good for her. I have to, but also good for you as a
Yeah.
mom. You didn't say you don't know what you're talking about.
I
Actually
probably
reflected
did.
on that, right? You reflected on how you show up for her as a mom. And I think that's wonderful.
I've always been a reflective individual, right? Given my career path as well, right? You continuously reflect on yourself and you continuously work on yourself and you always look at those skill sets and how you can better. And that became kind of like your innate identity as well, right? Because then you want to be better even in your home life. If there's a problem, let's fix it. Let's find a solution. Let's see how the solution works. If it doesn't work, okay, let's try another solution type of thing, right? And then the final straw was I found out he was having an affair for about a year. And it was not the fact that he was having an affair for a year. It was more of the fact that we continued to behave like a husband and wife would intimately. And that is what broke me because to me, trust is everything. Once I found out, I think I took probably about 2.5 weeks gathering evidence because I was just so in shock that I couldn't even believe it. In the past, things have happened, but from a characteristic perspective, I should have probably never been even married. Because when you're in love, you don't see all the red flags. You put these blinders on, like you're in a horse carriage, and like you see the horses have these blinders.
You tend to see the idea of what you want the relationship to be
Yes,
instead of actually
yes,
seeing it for what it
yes.
is.
Yeah. And that's what happens, right? We marry the potential. We look for the idea of what a person could bring in anything, in any relationship, whether marriage or not. And in the beginning, what we end up doing is, and there's actually a rule, it's like a 369 rule where for the first 3 months, we do things that actually please the other person. We will do the activities. Even if you didn't like bike riding, you would go bike riding because you want to please that person. You want that
Hmm.
person to like you and you want to show some side of commonality with that person. And then come 6 months, you start to like little bit of pick here and there. And by 9 months, either you are committed and either you have shifted your entire identity to commit to this one person, or you have decided that this person isn't for you. And I think when we're older, and again, culturally, it's like that ticking time bomb, right? Because I didn't get married until I was in my 30s. So
Same
it's like,
here. Yeah.
oh, you're 29, you have not married yet. So now you want to get married. Now then it's like, oh, now you have to have a kid because now you're in your 30s. And, it's like all these things, these measurements that we talk about, right? That we have to abide by because it's like that rule. You have to complete that step to have a
Yeah.
successful life or whatever you want to call it.
There's a lot of these unwritten, they're just expected of us, of women, or just maybe everyone in general. Finish school, get good job, and get married, and all these things. And for women, have kids, be a good mom. These are
Yes,
set expectations and milestones as if we have to hit them. Otherwise, you didn't achieve
you're not.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You didn't achieve it. If you didn't hit that milestone, you didn't achieve it, or something's wrong. I even use this analogy with like when kids are born, when we go to the doctors and they have this chart graph that they measure you with, and your kids have to be at this certain weight level. These kids have to be at this height level. If you don't hit those measurements, something is wrong. Or your kids have to talk or have these dexterities at a certain age. But now you realize some things, they're just either delayed or they need their time, right?
You're navigating all these difficulties. The marriage, how long after you got let go from your work and then your marriage ended? It was pretty short time, right?
It was actually. So I got let go October 2023 and I decided to end my marriage April 2024.
6 months. Yeah, 6 months apart. That must been, it's like a, if you, it can't get any lower type of time period, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was now I call it a total reset when you do like a defragmentation of your computer and it's like that just erases everything and you have to rebuild everything. That's exactly what happened. It was a total reset of my entire life, my identity, who I was, who I want to be. I continue to stay a mom, but
Yeah,
other than
exactly.
that,
You were navigating all that still being a
Yeah.
mom, raising two kids, and they
Yeah.
were teenagers.
Yeah.
So, what did you do during that season of your life? Must have been really hard.
I think part of it is also the grievance of it, right? When anyone makes such a harsh, strong decision to leave a marriage after such a long time, and you've already grieved it at a certain point slowly. So making that decision, yes, it was heartbreaking, and there were many moments where I've cried a lot or I've asked the question of why. But in between that time, I had already grieved it for so long that that decision was just like, no, you need to make this decision, or otherwise you're just going to stay in the cycle of being the martyr. Either it was you take that route, break that cycle, do something different, or you continue and see how it rolls out.
Take a fork in the road. You just have to
Pretty
pick
much.
and decide which way
You
you're gonna
have
go.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. You have to decide there's no other one is a dead end. You can take it, or the other one will lead you to so many different opportunities, right? I think I'm stronger now, but in that first year, it's also the conversations to be had with your families, with your friends, right? And like earlier when I had said, like we looked like the couple that everybody wanted to be like or the relationship that everybody thought was supposed to be. So having to actually tell people, they were like, I never even saw a sign. And of course, there are some closer family and friends that maybe knew a little bit more deeper. But in general, I think a lot of our friends through marriage had no idea.
And it's another hard thing for you to overcome. You have to explain yourself almost to these friends and family who were close to you guys. And you have to kind of, you shouldn't have to justify, but you sort of were doing that. It's a hard thing for
Yeah,
you to face again. Why do I have to do this? But
yeah.
I had to.
Yeah. And it's also not just like our friends, our extended families, right? Because again, culturally, even though we're not the first divorced people, culturally, it's not the best decision to be made, right? Oh, how come? Can't you just work it out? And the conversation of men will be men. No, things don't happen. And it always brings me back to my own kids. These are not the values that I am teaching my kids to have. These are not the values I want my son to have in a relationship. So why would I continue on and say men will be men? No, that's not how it works. I have more value to it now and I have my own self worth now. And I'm not saying everybody just go get divorced tomorrow, but I think that epidemic of women, especially in the Asian culture, we are seeing that it's a rise because we have decided as women not to take it anymore. Our self worth is so much more because now we can work, we can fend for ourselves. So it's not even like back in the day where women stayed at home and they weren't allowed to go out to get a job. And so they needed somebody to take care of them. It's not like that. Women are so self sufficient that we become our own powerhouse inside us, right? Yeah, it's been a very, very interesting journey.
Transformative, I'd say, right? For you,
Yeah,
because you transformed, you use this opportunity. This is like you hit the rock bottom, the
yes,
career, the marriage ending, and still you need to bring up two kids who are in their teenage years and you need to explain and justify yourself to your friends and family why you're doing what you're doing. What happened then? You found yourself. You really are doing something that you feel that you're striving. So what happened there?
I could have gone back to the bank. It's not like that door has closed forever, but it was more of an opportunity of, so you did this for 23 years. Here's an opportunity for you to do something else. What is it? What do you want to be when you grow up? Started again in my mid 40s because now I needed to recreate who actually Nehal is, right? What does she want to do? My thrive has always been helping others and being of service to others, engaging with my own children, learning to navigate their own issues as well, and having the ability to be there for them. Because again, coming from a culture where you don't talk about feelings, you don't emotionally regulate or give them the right tools on how to navigate through life, I became more of that like, no, that's not what I want for my kids. I don't want them to be in that cycle. I want to break that generation gap that's there. I want to break that baggage. I want to break it. I want to break all those in the box structures that we live through, all those milestones, and make new ones for my kids.
Can you tell me a little bit more about how your upbringing, how your childhood was like, how your parents were, these people around you, how do they see emotion? You were saying that nobody teach you how to emotional regulate. What was that like? Because I know what my upbringing was like. I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear yours.
So I would say in general, my upbringing was pretty good. I was a wild child, 100%. I was probably that hyperactive ADHD kid and just couldn't sit still. My parents didn't know how to control me and I would just go crazy. But my parents were never ones to be strict in that sense. They always allowed room for me in particular. I think my brother was treated differently, but they allowed me to be more free and in my choices that I made. My parents were both liberals. They had a love marriage. They didn't go through an arranged marriage system. They broke their own boundaries by marrying a different caste in between each other. So
I think
they
this is back in
understood.
India.
I think for them, it was they didn't want to be part of that boxed structure either. I don't remember ever having such a bad childhood, but it was never where feelings or emotions were ever spoken. So when you go through puberty, for example, going back to like when I was 13, 14, if I liked a boy, I wasn't going to go tell my mom I liked a boy because that wasn't a conversation that her and I ever had. So that part I changed with my own kids because I think that that helps learn what kids go through as well. In my own childhood, I think getting older was more of the accomplishments because that's what parents know, right? What are your accomplishments? Do you go to school? Do you graduate? Do you go to university? You graduate. You got a good job. You graduate. You got married. Those are their milestones. If you're making it there, then they know you're okay. The rest doesn't matter. What's going on in your mental well-being, no one talks about that because that's how it
Yeah.
is. No one wants to talk about the uncomfortable things, you know. But my parents have always been very supportive, no matter what. Even through this journey, they've been extremely supportive of everything.
That's good to hear. So your mom, how did she take it? How did she take your ending of your marriage?
Um, for my mom, it was very difficult. It was actually extremely difficult to the point where she never even told her own siblings for, I would say, a good year. Because I think for my mom, it was more of she was hoping that things would just work out and things would be okay because society will view you differently as a divorcee with a kid. And how do you navigate through that?
But you don't think like that anymore, right? Did you used to think like that? Did you used to think what people will see, how they will see me, and how they will view?
I think subconsciously I probably did. You create the narrative subconsciously, right? Because if you're married, you're successful. If you're working, you're successful, you know, and the issues that a marriage had, I think I told myself that things will work out. Okay, we go to therapy, things will work out. People are different, people change, but that idea still remained, right? Where you're just like, these are just growing pains of a relationship. You accept whatever is being thrown at you as it's part of the marriage, part of life. For my mom, it was more of you are breaking something that shouldn't be broken because to the outside world, it looked perfect, right?
Yeah. Why change something that's not broken? It was not the saying, right? Don't touch it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it
So,
broke. It broke. For you, it broke. So you had to
yeah.
address it. You can't,
Yeah.
you're standing at the fork of the road and you need to pick a side and you got to pick the side for yourself,
Yeah. It's like, you
right?
know, when you're driving and your windshield, you get that stone. You get that little stone chip, and then there's that little stone chip. And no matter what you do, you keep driving, and then that crack starts to get a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger, but you still keep driving. You're like, it's there, I get it, but it's not that bad. And you keep driving and you keep driving, and then eventually it's in your way. You can't drive anymore. Like, you literally have to fix that windshield. And that's what it came to. You know, my marriage, it was inside, there was a little stone chip and it cracked. And slowly it just started breaking even more and more and more. And things just became more uncomfortable. And then you ask yourself that question: what am I doing? Am I happy? Am I worth it? Do I continue this way? There were so many times that I would go to bed crying. And why? where your partner's sitting next to you, but they don't see or feel
You
that
feel lonely. Yeah.
hurt. Yeah, it just never felt right to continue that way. My career ending at that point, and then my marriage ending at that point, it was just like, let's just burn the whole house down, start fresh, burn it to the ground, come back from the ashes.
From all these challenges that you went through, you came out from it.
Slowly, my rebuild of my own self was one through my faith and just being able to find that time alone. I went and got my Reiki done and I became more in tune with myself energetically. I think meditating really helped in that first year of my breakdowns. I would meditate and I would cry and I would journal. I journal so much. One day a book will happen from this journaling, but I wrote everything down. I wrote my grievances. I wrote all my happiness. I wrote my affirmations. Cause at the same time, when you become so broken inside, you want to find that positivity somewhere. Cause at the end of the day, for me, it wasn't just I had to make it. I have to make it for my kids. I have to show them that it's okay when life hits you with a ton of bricks. How do you get up? How do you stand up? My kids have seen me cry because I think it's, again, healthy to show emotions. Crying is just one of my mechanisms. It's my way of releasing everything that gets pent up inside. And I just like have a good cry and I'm good to go. So from that rebuild, it was more of meditating, journaling, self affirmations. I'm a big, big, big believer of I am affirmations because studies show that positive affirmations actually rewire your brain. And so I needed to rewire my brain. I needed to rewire the person that was the mom, the wife, the daughter, the corporate leader, all that. I needed to rewire that brain to be like, no, but this is who I am, you know?
If you could reintroduce yourself after all these things that now are behind you, what would you tell the listeners who you are now?
I would say I am amazing. I'm an amazing human being with so much love and light that I want to just like exude it to anybody who wants it. Whoever's light is dim, I want to give it to them because I want to show the women out there or the kids out there that you can really come out of all these adverse moments and really truly find not what true happiness, because happiness can be anything, right? So my own company is called Born to Rise and Glow. And actually, Born to Rise and Glow was really first meant for my advocacy for kids. And I really wanted to help children find their stillness. And I became certified in teaching kids how to balance their chakras. And that's how the company started. But really, truly, Born to Rise and Glow is my new identity because I feel that we are all, regardless of any age group that we're consistently as a child when we come into this world, we are born to rise and glow. We are allowed to shine no matter what happens. So like when I said earlier is that I have this immense love and give that I just want to show anyone that wants it, whether someone's going through a divorce, separation, or life career changes, any sort of transformation. I want to be able to give that empowerment to somebody and say, I've been there. I have lived it. And it's not just talk. It's not textbook. It's actual real life experiences to say that you can 100% come out of it. It just depends on your mindset. So that's how Born to Rise came about. That's where my work is now pushing me towards is to really one to empower women who are going through similar journeys and again there's so many women out there that are so strong-willed, including yourself. Like we're so blessed to be in this environment together where we empower each other and your stories, my stories, we can embed them together and make them even more and grand and say you can get through these challenges. And it's also for my kids. I want to really set a platform and a legacy for them to say they came out differently than what the world expected for them to fit into these boxes, right? From adverse moments, from any type of living situations that they've gone through or their generations in the past have gone through.
It's so great to have that support system. And that is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing to create a community. And what you're doing, you want to support, empower the women facing adversity. If you can speak to one woman right now who's listening, who just so happen is going through exactly what you're going through, what would you tell her?
I would tell her, find me. Find me on Menta, mentaa.com. Book a free 30-minute call with me and we can talk about anything. One of the things about me is I don't follow specific textbook markings. I curate to who needs what they need. If there is a woman out there who is going through either life transformation or where there's that little voice coming through, right? And that pebble has cracked a little bit in between, those are the ones that sometimes you want to address because you don't have to wait for the entire glass to break. You can fix that little hole before it becomes a massive crack.
I know it's very important to catch that before it becomes
Yeah.
even bigger.
And even for kids, right? Like you want to give them the navigation tools and skill sets. And that's my big chunk of life's work right now is to give kids or youths or teens those life skills to give them a better outlook.
Is there anything, last word that you will want to say to the listeners or maybe even to the younger generation?
I would say to not dwell on the why me moment. I feel like we quickly judge ourselves so fast that we have failed at something because we didn't hit those milestones successfully that it's like, why me? Why is this happening to me? What am I supposed to do now? We can figure it out. You can
There are a
definitely
lot
figure
of
it out.
pressures that come from external, lots of comparison, lots of highlight reels everywhere.
Even in our Western society, you must look fit a different body type. We have so much pressure externally coming in. And imagine when you see all these things, your brain is capturing all this information, and then that's what you want to portray as. And sometimes we lose ourselves within that. Just know that it's okay to be you, and it's okay to really, really, truly, authentically be you, however you show up.
And you had this realization after the very difficult life events, right? The career and then the
Yeah,
ending of the marriage. Because of these adversities, now you came out stronger and now you know I need to go inward and I need to find myself. And that's very important and valuable life lessons right there.
yeah, absolutely. And I think if somebody would have given me these tools when I was younger, I would have probably made way different choices in my adulthood. That doesn't take away from anybody, but I think it's just we didn't have the right information because we just have expectations that we have to fulfill. That I think it's to your question of mentorship, right? If we have the right mentors at earlier stages in our life, then we probably make different decisions and not have such big, who knows.
And
You
that's
can
exactly why you are doing what you do, because you want to share what you have experienced and what your takeaways you want to share with people who could use your support.
absolutely.
And
I want to
yeah,
spread this to the whole world. That's my dream. I want to touch every single person out there in the world that may or may not feel or may feel this type of, transformation coming through them. And that's the positive part of social media, right? Like we're using this channel to be able to voice it to other people who may feel like they're alone in this journey and they don't have to be.
exactly. That's beautifully said. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
you don't have to
Nehal.
be alone. Thank you, Mika. I loved it so much.
So, in closing, if today's conversation resonates and you want to go deeper, Nehal works with clients one on one as a coach, a mentor. You can find her on mentaa.com. Search for her as a coach and book a free 30-minute discovery call. Whether you are navigating a career transition, the end of a relationship, or simply trying to find your footing as a parent in the middle of all of it, Nehal's work meets you where you are. And thank you for coming to 1-800 Gold Digger, Nehal. And to the listeners, I will talk to you in the next episode.